A discussion is starting to gain attention around a move the Seattle Seahawks made that, according to a recent analysis, could eventually be viewed as a mistake. But not everyone agrees with that conclusion. This has generated a lot of buzz, and I'm here to tell you all the details, so be sure to click the like button and write in the comments. Go Hawks! This season is ours. The focus is on Emmanuel Wilson, a player who arrived from the Green Bay Packers and entered Seattle with the reputation of being a productive, physical running back capable of contributing immediately. The debate isn't about whether Wilson can play. The debate is about whether the Seahawks truly needed to bring him in given the current state of the running back room. Wilson's track record presents an interesting case. He has built his reputation as a reliable backup rather than a featured starter. During his time in Green Bay, he operated behind Josh Jacobs and managed to establish himself as a quality contributor. He averaged more than 4 yards per carry, showed an ability to finish drives in the red zone, and developed a reputation as a strong physical runner who can create difficult situations for defenders. Beyond the power element of his game, Wilson has also been described as someone with more speed than many people realize. According to the discussion surrounding him, he has never been shy about highlighting his own explosiveness and ability to generate big plays. However, the concern emerging from the Seahawks conversation isn't necessarily about Wilson's talent. Instead, it centers on roster construction. Questions are being raised because of where he currently appears to fit within the depth chart. Rather than immediately claiming a major role, Wilson finds himself in a crowded competition. The analysis referenced in the report suggested that he may not even be viewed as the clear RB3 at this stage. Instead, there is growing attention around other names receiving opportunities, including players who have reportedly been working their way into important reps during off-season activities. That has led some observers to wonder whether Seattle invested resources in a position where it already possessed enough internal options. If the Seahawks ultimately had capable solutions already developing within the roster, critics argue that the funds used to bring in Wilson could potentially have been allocated elsewhere. That is the core argument being made by those questioning the move. It's not that Wilson lacks ability. It's that the roster may have already contained enough running back depth before his arrival. At the same time, there is a strong counter-argument. Training camp battles are far from settled, and off-season depth chart observations often change dramatically once preseason football begins. Declaring any signing a regret before meaningful games are played may be premature. The discussion surrounding Wilson highlights exactly why roster evaluations can be so complicated. A player can be talented, fit the culture, possess NFL production, and still face questions simply because of competition at his position. Another important point emerging from the report is the belief that Wilson fits what Seattle is attempting to build under Mike Macdonald. The qualities being associated with him go beyond statistics. His work ethic, personality, and overall fit within the team's environment have been cited as reasons why concerns may be overblown. For supporters of the move, Wilson represents exactly the type of player organizations want to add: productive, experienced, competitive, and capable of contributing when opportunities arrive. While the running back conversation continues, another off-season addition is beginning to attract attention for very different reasons. Noah Igbinoghene may not have generated major headlines when he arrived, but there are indications that his role could become more significant than many initially expected. On paper, some observers looked at the signing and viewed it as depth. Seattle already had talent in the secondary, particularly in areas where Igbinoghene has experience. Because of that, expectations remained relatively modest. What has changed is the feedback coming from off-season work. Reports indicate that Igbinoghene has been active in multiple roles throughout OTAs and minicamps. Rather than being limited to one assignment, he has reportedly spent time both in the slot and on the outside. That versatility immediately increases his value because it provides coaching flexibility when constructing defensive packages. Even more importantly, there have been positive reviews regarding his ability to generate turnovers and make plays during practices. Those kinds of contributions rarely go unnoticed by coaching staffs. Defensive coaches, along with Mike Macdonald, were reportedly pleased with what they saw from him throughout the off-season program. That praise has started to fuel speculation that Igbinoghene could emerge as a more important piece of the secondary than many anticipated when the signing was first announced. The possibility of him becoming a key depth defender is particularly interesting because depth often determines how successful a defense can be over a long season. Injuries happen, rotations expand, matchups change from week to week. Teams that possess versatile defensive backs capable of filling multiple responsibilities frequently find themselves in better positions when adversity arrives. Based on the off-season reports, Igbinoghene may be quietly positioning himself to become exactly that kind of player for Seattle. What makes this storyline even more intriguing is how quickly perceptions can shift. A signing that initially appeared routine is now being discussed as a potentially valuable addition. Meanwhile, a signing that many viewed positively in Emmanuel Wilson is suddenly facing questions about long-term necessity. That contrast perfectly captures the uncertainty of the NFL offseason. Narratives can change rapidly as new information emerges from practices, competitions, and coaching evaluations. As training camp approaches, both players will have opportunities to shape the conversation themselves. Wilson can prove that Seattle was right to bring him in regardless of the competition around him. Igbinoghene can continue building momentum and strengthen his case for a meaningful defensive role. For now, both stories remain unresolved, but they are becoming increasingly important topics among those closely following the Seahawks' off-season developments. With questions surrounding Emmanuel Wilson's fit in the running back room and growing optimism about Noah Igbinoghene's potential impact in the secondary, which of these two Seahawks storylines do you think will end up being more important once the season gets underway? Another rumor that continues to circulate involves Jadeveon Clowney, and this is where things become especially interesting for Seahawks fans. At the time of the discussion in the source material, Clowney remained unsigned, leaving the door open for speculation about where he could eventually land. His name keeps appearing because of the type of player he is and the type of impact many believe he could still make on a defense. The argument in favor of Clowney is straightforward. He is viewed as a defender who can pressure quarterbacks while also contributing against the run. That combination remains valuable, particularly for teams looking to strengthen their edge presence. According to the discussion, there has been a belief around league circles that Seattle could benefit from additional edge talent, which naturally creates a connection between the Seahawks and Clowney whenever free agent conversations begin. What makes the situation more intriguing is that the Seahawks are not the only team being linked to him. Rumors have suggested that Green Bay could be involved in the market for Clowney's services. Other teams have also been mentioned in various discussions, but the possibility of the Packers entering the picture has generated particular attention. The concern is not necessarily that one player would completely change the balance of power, but rather that adding a veteran pass rusher could strengthen an already competitive defense. Supporters of the idea believe Clowney still has enough left in the tank to be a meaningful contributor. While he is no longer one of the younger defenders in the league, the evaluation presented in the report argued that he is far from finished. His production over recent seasons was highlighted as evidence that he can still provide value to a team seeking help along the defensive front. The larger takeaway here is that Seattle's offseason remains fluid. Even though many major moves have already occurred, the possibility of additional additions continues to exist. Every available veteran becomes a subject of discussion when fans look for areas where the roster could improve. Clowney represents one of the biggest remaining names on the market, which is why these rumors continue to attract attention. The final topic creating conversation comes from within the NFC West, where developments involving the Arizona Cardinals have started generating headlines. The focus centers on the quarterback situation and specifically on Carson Beck. According to the report, circumstances have created a scenario where Beck could receive increasing opportunities, leading to speculation about what Arizona's plans may be moving forward. The discussion begins with Jacoby Brissett. As described in the source, Brissett had been holding out during portions of the offseason program. The report characterized him as a bridge quarterback and primarily a backup option, but someone who nevertheless found himself in a position to potentially start for Arizona. Contract-related issues and disagreements regarding compensation reportedly contributed to the situation, creating uncertainty around the position. That uncertainty has opened the door for Carson Beck to receive more work with the first-team offense. Beck was selected in the third round of the 2026 NFL Draft, and the increased opportunities have naturally led to more discussion about his future. Whenever a young quarterback begins receiving repetitions with top units, questions immediately follow regarding whether coaches are evaluating a larger role. The report revisited Beck's college background, noting his time at Georgia as well as Miami. There was a period when many people viewed him as a quarterback with significant potential, and discussions once existed about where he might eventually fit among NFL prospects. However, circumstances changed over time, including injuries and shifting evaluations. Those developments altered perceptions regarding his long-term outlook at the professional level. Still, opportunity can change everything. The current situation in Arizona has created a scenario where Beck is receiving chances that may not have existed under different circumstances. Whether those opportunities ultimately lead anywhere remains unknown, but the fact that the conversation is happening at all has become one of the more notable developments mentioned in the report. From Seattle's perspective, these stories highlight how quickly narratives can evolve across the division and around the league. One moment, the focus is on whether a running back signing was necessary. The next, attention shifts to an under-the-radar defensive back earning praise throughout off-season practices. Then the conversation moves toward a high-profile free agent still searching for a team and a divisional rival facing questions at quarterback. What stands out most is that none of these situations have reached their final chapter. Emmanuel Wilson still has time to prove exactly why Seattle wanted him. Noah Igbinoghene still has opportunities to strengthen his position within the secondary. Jadeveon Clowney remains available, meaning rumors will continue until a decision is made. Carson Beck's increased opportunities are only beginning to generate discussion. Every one of these stories could look very different once training camp and the preseason unfold. For Seahawks fans, that uncertainty is what makes this period of the year so fascinating. Every practice report matters. Every roster battle matters. Every rumor matters. And sometimes, the biggest stories of a season begin with conversations that seem relatively small during the off-season. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. And when you're done, click the video that's on your screen right now, because that's where you'll find the next Seahawks update. The latest Seahawks news, rumors, and developments are waiting for you there. And the fastest way to stay informed is to keep following the channel for every update as it happens. Go Hawks!